Went fishing yesterday afternoon at Aurora Leech, and probably one of the best days to be fishing. It was overcast, it was cool, no wind, which is a big deal for Aurora Leech. And I had a really good day out there. In fact, the last 2 times I've been out there, I've had really good days. And what I'm using out there is a leech pattern, a little miniature leech pattern. And the reason I'm using it is the baby crawdads are coming out. And this pattern looks like one of those baby crawdads. So that's what I thought I'd show you today. What I've got here is a Tiemco 3761 in the size 10. And I've got a 1/8 inch gold tungsten bead on the front end. And I'm using here an olive mink zonker strips. And each of the zonker strips are 3/4 of an inch long. And you can see I'm just tying it in right now, up at the front. The reason I tied this is when I first started tying this fly, I had learned from Charlie the cowboy leech, which is just one piece, and it was on a short shank hook. But what it kept doing was it kept fouling into the back of the hook, and so I shortened it, and the zonker strips to begin with for myself, and then I also went to a longer shanked hook, and then I started tying in it more Matuka style. So what you see me doing right now is I'm just wetting down the mink hair. So I've tied in both of my pieces of zonker strip, I've wetted them down, and now I'm going to bring my thread to the back of the fly. And how I'm fishing this fly out at Aurora Leech is I've got a full sink line. And I'm fishing this darn thing, has to be 20-25 feet down, because the water hasn't cooled off quite yet. I'm just trying to split the hair so I can get that darn thing in there. There you go. Need a little more water. There we go. I've got both of those zonker strips tied in. And what it does is when it swims through the water, it looks like a pair of baby miniature claws out, and it's got huge amounts of movement. I'll wet it down a bit more. Take my bodkin, and what I like to do is whip finish that back end bit, and take and split the hair again and put another wrap in between there. And those fish are sitting in that cooler water that's really deep. The surface water right now is about 60, 65, maybe a little more. But where they're swimming at is at about 50 feet. And this time of the year, there's fewer people on the lake. There was only like 5 boats out there yesterday. And where I was at, there was nobody fishing. I'll bring the thread up to the front. And I had a very good day for a float tube. Now, for me, Aurora Leech, when I first started fishing, I fished it for 2 years before I even caught a fish. Then I started figuring things out. I figured they were on the points, a lot of times on the points, and I figured out the bottom of the lake a little bit more. And I've got a little bit of flashaboo here, and I just tied in just to give it a little glint of something as it travels through the water. And just tie it about the length of the fly, or 3/4 the length of the fly. Now I tie these in tandem, meaning I've got 2 of them. And yesterday, I got something that I measured it, went out to 22, and it was at least 4 or 5 pounds, that fish. And then I got another one that went 21, and one that went 18, and the rest were about 17. In total of 7 fish. And for me, that's an outstanding day out there. That's just not heard of for myself. I just have a hard time fishing that place. But now I've got another piece of the meat zonker strip, and I've got it trapped in my clamp here, and I'm going to use that. I'm going to create a dubbing brush. So I've trimmed it off. I'm going to split my thread. Now I've got, this thread is 6/0 Good Broad, and it splits really easily. Like that. Slip it in. Now I'll take that hair and I'll spread it out a little bit. And I'll spin it. And just as this is just to create a dubbing brush. Now I've got my brush, and what I do is I actually take it and I nip the thread, hold it there with a pair of hackle pliers. And I'll explain why with this fly for me. And I'll take it and I'll hold it off for the side for a second. And then I'll tie my thread. I've gone ahead, created the brush, and I'll take my thread and I'll tie it back in again. What was happening when I first tied this fly, I would just use a zonker strip itself and just wrap it around the head. And I got too much of a buildup, at least for my taste. And so what I would then do is just wrap, I would create the brush and wrap it, and then I was finding I was losing the head. It would just, that's where it would fall apart. So what I did was this trick. I come over, I wrap, take my thread, and I come around it. And then I come back again. Come around it again. And do that as I'm wrapping the head on. And that way I don't lose this fly holds up a lot better. All I'm doing is catching the head, and I've actually weaved the fly on there, at least the head of the fly. that collar. I'll wet it back so I can see it. So those fish are sitting out there at about 20-25 feet off the points of the lake, and nobody's on the lake. It's funny, but end of Labor Day, I said Memorial Day. Anyway, whatever that last major holiday was, people start thinking it's the end of summer. And for fly fishermen, it's just getting better. And that's why I like fishing this time of year. Nobody's out there. And the fish have turned on. As you can see, now I'll trim just a little bit underneath. But you can see this baby fishes like a big dog. Oh, also, one other thing I had to mention. I was using a 6-weight rod on a full sink line. And I'll throw that baby out as far as I can, probably about 70 feet. And just let it go to the bottom. And then I'll troll it. It's funny out there, though, they don't take I don't get as many hits when I'm trolling so much as when I set up into an area and strip 6-inch strips. And they have a tendency to slam that fly. And I'm running 2x leaders with 3x tippet, so they're not leader shy at all. And the fish are fat. Good luck to you. Try a little lake fishing this time of year, and a little stream fishing, because there's not as many people